The rematch in Cancún. William Zepeda took on Tevin after their first meeting in Saudi. And this rematch was a lot more exciting, more dramatic. Zepeda, I don't know if he's going to be able to hang in there with some of the champs at 135.
He is the interim champion. This is a guy who should be ready for a title shot, and he still has a lot of holes in his game.
Tevin Farmer, he likes being in the pocket. But Shakur is not going to be like that. He's going to move you around. He's going to stick the jab. He's going to keep you at a range. So if that's the champion for which you have a next shot against, you need to bring something else to the table.
Once it comes to the elite level, he has to make adjustments. He makes zero adjustments.
I could see a knockdown for Shakur in this fight if Zepeda doesn't tighten up. And I feel like he likes that type of style too. I mean, he's just going to be like the matador and the bull. Ole, 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 ole. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Round Podcast, where we cover everything from traditional boxing to influencer boxing and everything in between. In today's episode, we'll be going over William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer, the rematch in Cancun, as well as the return of Tim Tszyu as he takes on Joey Spencer in Australia. But before we get into the episode, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all forms of social media. Lastly, we're trying to build up a community on Discord, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. And now diving into the episode. The rematch in Cancun. William Zepeda, the interim champion, took on Tevin Farmer for the second time after their first meeting in Saudi. And this rematch was, in my opinion, better than the first. A lot more exciting, more dramatic, and lots of, moments where I was telling myself, man, Zepeda, I don't know if he's going to be able to hang in there with some of the champs at 135. What were you guys' thoughts about the fight?
Yeah, it was definitely a better fight, and I think, but it was also a little less controversial. I think more people online did see that Zepeda won this fight. I was actually surprised that it was a majority decision, but he got the win, but it still wasn't impressive. Like we were talking about last episode, he needed to shut the door on this whole controversy, shut the door on Tevin Farmer, and make a point that, hey, the last fight was a fluke. This fight, I'm going to finish him off, and I'm going to go for ShakurStevenson for a world title. And, I mean, we don't have the hype back with him. The hype is not back for Zepeda. I think everyone online, and I agree, I don't think he's going to be able to beat a champion at 135 like ShakurStevenson or Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, I feel like before I even get into that, what's next for Zepeda and how he, goes up against some of the other champions, I want to just talk about just sort of the fight. As a fight fan, this fight was a lot better than the first fight. I mean, it was pretty action-packed. The way I would break down this rematch was the first half, it was almost all William Zepeda. Especially that second round, it looked like Zepeda was just breaking him down, and it looked like the fight wasn't going to last much longer. Zepeda was doing a pretty good job of breaking the body and then going upstairs and then just being able to land punches almost at will and being able to do whatever he wanted to Farmer. And Farmer, I feel like, wasn't really doing... he didn't come in with maybe the best game plan, maybe just trying to stand kind of in front of Zepeda, which kind of surprised me a little bit. But then the second half of the fight, it looked like Zepeda's output kind of went down a little bit more, and it looked like Farmer was able to, do a pretty good job of countering Zepeda, being able to pot shot some of the punches here and there in between Zepeda's punches. And, in the last round, it looked like... Farmer dropped him again. So that was pretty interesting. Even though it was a little less controversial, there was still controversy because a lot of people were like, it was a knockdown. It should have been a knockdown. Even Sergio Mora, one of the commentators for the DAZN panelist, was like, it should have been a knockdown. But it was a really good fight. I was expecting... we talked about it last week. All of us were expecting a lot from Zepeda. He got the win. I do truly believe he got the win. In my scorecard, it was 116, 112. But, I mean, like what you just stated, not really impressive when you talk about just sort of the level opposition, just some of the other champions at the lightweight division. So, Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That first half of the fight, especially that second round, was so weird because it seemed like midway through something happened. Like Farmer hurt himself, or he had like a misstep, misbalance, and all of a sudden, William Zepeda bounced on him and he threw like 2 billion punches on the boy. And I was all like, God, I'm like, dude, this fight will not last all 12 rounds, because not only that second round began the onslaught of the first half for Zepeda, but he also had, I believe, the fifth round where he once again seemed to hurt Tevin Farmer and seemed to be breaking him down. There was a moment where Tevin Farmer was taking some clean punches, walking back slowly, seemed a bit paralyzed from the waist down, and seemed as if William Zepeda's body output was actually working. You know, there was an effect to his punches on Tevin Farmer. But there was the whole second round, and supposedly I'm not sure how certain it is, but they were claiming, the commentators, that Tevin Farmer had injured his elbow and also his hand, hence why he that second round happened to him. He wasn't able to throw it. He was in pain and whatever. Also, like, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, even after the fight, they asked Tevin Farmer, "Yo, what about the hand?" And he refused to answer the question or to even acknowledge it. But I don't know, for some reason after the second half, William Zepeda's output did go down. I felt like maybe he took a quick breather. I mean, he did throw a lot of punches, but at the same time, Tevin Farmer seemed to get his engine rolling. He became loosened there. He made William Zepeda very hesitant with his counter, his shot puts, his shot selection. I mean, Tevin Farmer, if he had pop, he would be a very dangerous fighter, because not only does he have the skills, but he's got a fucking granite chin, dude. I don't know how you can take that much punishment and still last all 12 rounds with a good amount of output that he was throwing in between rounds. So if Tevin Farmer had more pop in his shots, he'd be a very elite fighter and a very dangerous one.
Definitely. And, he showed great heart. I don't think he should be ashamed of his performance. It was a fantastic performance, going up in weight classes. His last opponent, he lost against Murataya, and he's had these really close fights with Zepeda, who is the interim champion at 135. So, he should no hate on Tevin Farmer. He pulled out some great performances, but going up, like, that's the thing that scares me about Zepeda, is because if he doesn't have an engine to go 12 rounds, being super high output, I mean, what else does he have? His main thing is being the bulldozer. His main thing is going forward, throwing a lot of punches, breaking you down. If he can only do that for the first six rounds, the next 6 rounds are going to be hell against any of the other champions at 135.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I do believe that Zepeda does have the stamina to have a high output throughout like a 12-round fight. I really do think that just Tevin Farmer just may have, like, what's the word? Man, I can't think of the word right now. But it's just possible that Farmer just knows how to handle or kind of weather the output of Zepeda. Because I feel like in other fights, it almost seems as though Zepeda just doesn't stop throwing. He's always throwing, like, from the first round to the last round. I really do think. On Friday, when Farmer weighed in, he looked in tremendous shape. I feel like he even looked better than the first fight. Like, he weighed in right on the dot at 135, and he looked pretty big. And I think if he didn't come in the best performance, I think he would have been stopped, to be honest, because I'm pretty sure he was pissing blood after, because there ain't no way you're gonna take that much damage in a fight and then not have it cost you the day after. But yeah, I mean, that's another question mark that a lot of people are like, is Zepeda really ready to take on some of these elite world champions?
Yeah. I mean, what you were saying in the aspect of what else does William Zepeda bring in, that's the big question, because I mean, he showed his output, I mean, multiple times throughout this fight. And I mean, if he's not able to take out Tevin Farmer with that amount of output and that amount of clean shots, then what else is he going to bring to the table? Because if he's going to fight Shakur, which he's the interim champion for next shot against Shakur's not going to let you. I mean, Tevin Farmer, he likes being in the pocket. I mean, he allowed him to be. But Shakur's not going to be like that. He's going to move you around. He's going to stick the jab. He's going to keep you at a range in which you're not going to be effective. And he's going to be the one dictating the pace, getting the best shots out there on you. And if Zepeda was struggling against Tevin Farmer during the second half, when Tevin Farmer was countering, was doing the counters on him, landing those beautiful uppercuts, beautiful combinations. I mean, there was moments where I'm sure Zepeda was buzzed. Because
especially that last and final round.
That last round I was a bit scared. I was all like, oh, yo, like, Zepeda, you're winning the fight, but Farmer can come back and drop you. Like, those shots were huge. They were monster shots. Like I mentioned, if Tevin Farmer had more pop, I mean, Zepeda might have been crushed. So, but, I mean, Shakur, he don't got power.
But he might have comparable power to Tevin Farmer.
He could. It's possible, but the IQ, the skills from Shakur are, in my opinion, a lot better than Tevin Farmer, and Shakur is not going to allow you to have that range in which Tevin Farmer was allowing you to be right there in the pocket, to have him in the ropes. Shakur's going to move you around. He's going to simply outbox you, and he's shown that he's capable of doing it for 12 rounds. So if that's the champion for which you have a next shot against, you need to bring something else to the table, and I don't think the output is enough for William Zepeda. He needs to maybe work on his defense still. I mean, they emphasized that during this camp they were working on the defense. And to some aspects, it did show. But for sure, that second half, especially that final round, where some of the I was a bit scared for Zepeda, man.
Yeah, that's the thing that's scary. I mean, I would say for Zepeda, maybe take a couple fights and build up your skills. But he's there already. He is the interim champion, and he already has he has a good amount of fights now, like 30 fights,
33 fights.
33 fights. I mean, this is a guy who should be ready for a title shot, who's at the position for his next fight to fight ShakurStevenson, and he still has a lot of holes in his game. So I don't even know what to say to him. I mean, he needs to take some drastic measures, maybe change camp, get a new trainer, or do something new, because if he brings this same style to ShakurStevenson, it's not going to go good for him. It worked all the way to the lower level guys. It worked when he was rising up the rankings. Now he has the shot. He needs something more. He needs something new. So he has to take drastic measures.
Yeah, I mean, look, he has 33 fights. He is, I'm not even sure how old he is, but he's at the point where his next fight, or in 2 fights, he should fight for a world championship. There's 4 different champions in that weight class. And I do think, that a lot of, for the past a year or two, Zepeda, especially his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, have been kind of pushing towards a ShakurStevenson fight. I believe the best course of action should be wait on that fight and maybe go for a weaker champion. I think they should go for Lomachenko, to be honest, because, I mean, Lomachenko seems to be on his way out, and just based off these 2 fight performances from Zepeda, I don't think he's ready for Shakur fight.
I think Loma's camp would like that, or not Loma, sorry. I think Zepeda's camp would like that fight, but I don't think Loma's camp would like it. Loma, he's like pretty much retired, I feel like, and I think he still is going to fight. I know his manager has been in some interviews kind of talking about some potential fights for him. So he definitely has like 1 or 2 maybe fights left, but I don't think he's fighting Zepeda. I think he's going to go for like try to unify maybe, or, go for a big name. And Zepeda, I guess Zepeda is a pretty big name. He does have some fans, especially Mexico, they're behind him. I like Zepeda, honestly, but I don't see that fight being made. If they're gonna be world champion fights, I think it's gonna be ShakurStevenson. I mean, it just makes sense. He's the interim champion. Shakur has also expressed some interest in that fight before, so that fight, I think that's gonna be made. Gervonta Davis, he has some other plans. We still got to deal with the whole Lamont Roach and other stuff. And then Keyshawn Davis, I think that's another dangerous fight as well. I think Keyshawn knocks out Zepeda. I think he uses his aggression against him. So it's looking hard for Zepeda right now.
Yeah, Team Zepeda for sure. I mean, Loki, they can make a Tevin Farmer trilogy. The second fight was good. Yeah. The third fight might be even better. But now, Zepeda's team for sure is eyeing for a world title shot next. But in case that they don't get it, I mean, Raymond Murataya, he's there. They got a common opponent in Tevin Farmer. Murataya is set to fight, I think, next week or pretty soon against Zaur Abdualev. I don't know. He's this fighter. He's ranked within like the top 10 within 2 of the sanctioning bodies. So Raymond Murataya is also number 1 contender for the WBO. I mean, he's next in line for a Keyshawn Davis showdown. If William Zepeda and Raymond Murataya, want to have at least one more fight that can kind of show them like a level type of, an up and level before getting a title shot. I mean, I think that would be a perfect matchup between those two.
I like that fight. I like that fight because Murataya, I mean, he's just, he's been doing his thing, just climbing up the rankings, doing what he has to do to get to that position where a world title is in the future. Like you said, I mean, he's number 1 right in the WBO. And he's been doing good. I mean, his last fight was his last fight against Tevin Farmer?
Let me check real quick.
I believe so. And if it wasn't, then it was like 2 fights ago. But I mean, he just recently fought Tevin Farmer as well. So, and in that fight, there was no controversy. Murataya won that fight very, very clearly, which is what Zepeda should have done the first time. But it is what it is. But I think that'd be a good fight. Both of those guys are hot contenders right now at the 135, and if Zepeda, if he's a little unsure about his chances at the elite cream of the crop, go fight Murataya, who is in the same position as you.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say that was 2 fights ago.
Yeah, okay.
So he fought Tevin Farmer, and then he fought Jesus Campos afterwards, and then now he has this fight scheduled. Interestingly, for this new fight, he's fighting for the IBF interim. So for Lomachenko's title. So that's going to be very interesting to see if Murataya is able to win this fight, then he's going to become the interim champion. And I mean, low-key, they could have like an interim showdown. I mean, IBF interim against the WBC interim, William Zepeda and Raymond Murataya. But off topic also, Lomachenko, man, that the IBF has not enforced nothing on Lomachenko. Like, this man has been inactive for nearly a year. No signs of him whatsoever. And the IBF, they're letting it go by.
And you know what's funny about that? Weren't they all like up in arms when Canelo didn't want to defend his IBF mandatory?
Yeah.
And immediately they stripped him.
Yeah.
Like what's up with the why go against Canelo? We'll do the same thing with Loma. I mean, let's move the division forward.
Exactly. So a bit favoritism, hypocrisy from the IBF in terms of Lomachenko. No diss to Lomachenko, but come on, you gotta. If you're the sanctioning body, you gotta get things moving. And if the champ hasn't shown any pulse within the last like 10 months, then you gotta do something about it. Enforce a mandatory. At least enforce this interim that should have been done a lot sooner. But Lomachenko, I think, should have been stripped or at least forced to fight someone within earlier this year. But I guess favoritism does play a factor. Were you going to say something?
Just going back to the Zepeda. Look, I think, just some of these champions that we just mentioned, a lot of them are, 3 out of the 4 have, they fight or they have like a big promotion behind them. And Zepeda is with the Golden Boy promotion. So right there, that's like a hurdle that they have to like overcome, that business aspect. The only one that seems more open to the possibility of fighting Zepeda would be ShakurStevenson, because he's not really, they fight on the same TV network, which is the Zone, right? And if I'm not mistaken, either Shakur is with Matchroom or he's kind of like he's with like
Eddie Hearn. I mean, he loves Eddie Hearn. He's always praising him, saying he's like the best promoter. So
so kind of like the business aspect, that fight could be next. But when it comes to William Zepeda, look, he has a very good chance of giving a good fight to any of these champions, right? He has everything in his arsenal. He's heavy-handed in both hands, and he throws quite a bit of punches, and he has a pretty good aggression. It's really hard for some of these opponents to just kind of like be able to go with them, for a 12-round fight. I just think William Zepeda is there, but I just think he needs to make the necessary adjustments. He makes 0 adjustments. He just tries to just bulldoze his way and and just beat down his opponent. But once it comes to the elite level, he has to make adjustments. Another Mexican fighter that I don't want to compare him to because completely different styles, but is Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. in the aspect of in almost every fight, he would just go forward and break down his opponent, right? But he finds little things here and there to make the adjustments necessary depending on who he would fight, and then just kind of impose a style. That's what I think. I think Zepeda maybe needs a new trainer, or maybe needs a new assistant coach or something like that to help him with those necessary adjustments to kind of like bring his boxing game skills, ring IQ to the next level. Because if he doesn't do that, I don't really see him beating some of these champions.
No, I don't see him beating any of them. I mean, all of them stylistically are like completely different, which is kind of funny. You know, it's very, very diverse fighting styles that we got at 135. But with Shakur, I mean, I feel like Zepeda's too slow. He's not an explosive fighter. You know, he's a fighter that throws a lot of punches, but he's slow, man. Like, he is not explosive out. Like, you look at like with Shakur when he fought like Edwin de los Santos, he was kind of scared of him, right? He was very cautious, but it's because Edwin is an explosive fighter. I mean, he can go from 0 to 100 just like that, and he has a heavy hands. I don't think Zepeda really has heavy hands like that. I think he's more of a breaking you down after like 9 rounds of him throwing like 90 punches at you and 20 body shots. The damage starts weighing down on you, and you might take a knee or you might be like TKO'd or something like that. But he doesn't have like that one punch power where I feel Shakur would be super scared of him. And coupled with the fact, I mean, Shakur just has amazing timing and amazing distance management. I just see when Zepeda wants to come in, Shakur's going to see that like so clearly. It's going to be so telegraphed. No, it's because Zepeda doesn't really do any crazy feints either. He doesn't really set it up. Yeah. He kind of just bulldozes his way over the distance and tries to close it. Shakur's going to see that a mile away, and he's just going to pepper him with that jab and stay on the outside. So I just don't think Zepeda is fast enough to deal with a guy like ShakurStevenson.
Plus, I don't even think he would be able to neutralize just Shakur's clinches. I mean, towards the second half of the fight with Farmer, like Farmer was implementing the clinching and stuff like that, and Zepeda just doesn't really know how to deal with that. He doesn't know how to stop his opponent or just pay his opponent from just hugging him and whatnot. Yeah. And Shakur, yeah, he's just a guy who's going to be on the outside, going to be thinking a lot, and he's just not going to exchange with Zepeda. And the moments where Farmer wasn't really exchanging with Zepeda or finding little nulls in Zepeda's rhythm, he was exposing him and he was catching him. And Shakur is a lot faster than Farmer, so those punches are definitely going to sting for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only way I see right now William Zepeda beating Shakur is if they fight like in the telephone booth. Right there. Have you seen those like telephone booths like fighting?
Those it's like some Russian type of promotion, bro. They're just in a little tunnel.
And the round starts and they start going crazy. The whole in telephone booth is like moving and rocking, beating each other's ass.
Hey, there he has a chance.
Right there, he does have a chance because Shakur can't manage the distance there.
Nope.
But in an actual ring, I mean, that's a bit different. And yeah, Shakur for sure. Yeah, the range management that he has, the timing. The IQ in general is he's always constantly thinking, and he knows a style like William Zepeda, and I feel like he likes that type of style too. I mean, he's just gonna be like the matador and the bull, simply just gonna ole 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 ole, and then just make him pay for every single mistake that Zepeda makes. And I mean, against Tevin Farmer this past weekend, William Zepeda made a lot of mistakes, and Tevin Farmer made him pay. And I don't see it being any different for Shakur. Shakur might make him pay even worse. I could see a knockdown for Shakur in this fight if Zepeda doesn't, tighten up or try to bring something else to the table against Shakur. Because if he comes in the same way that he did against Tevin Farmer in this rematch that they had against Shakur, I just see Shakur simply just having a field day with him, and it's a shame because I like Zepeda too. I do like him too, but he needs something else in order to up his game into like making him a feared fighter, because these last two fights have been very, very, very bad in my opinion for his reputation. A lot of doubts still to this day. But in terms of Shakur and Zepeda, I mean, they were set to fight for February. after the Tevin Farmer fight but then Zepeda hurt his hand. You know, he had the injury, so then he had to say no to the fight and everything like that. And I saw a lot of people online saying like, oh, he already ducked Shakur. I don't know if there's been another instance where Team Zepeda said no to Shakur, but I mean, to my knowledge right now, that's the most recent one, which I think is a bit unfair. But
yeah, I wouldn't say that Zepeda is scared of Shakur. I'd say he's more scared of losing, and he sees a high chance of losing to Shakur. But like when you fight Shakur, I mean, you're not really scared you're not scared in the sense of the same feeling if you were fighting Gervonta Davis, because with Gervonta, you're like, yo, if he catches me, like, I'm going out. If he catches me, I'm not doing good. With Shakur, you're kind of gonna get outboxed, and I think Zepeda can make it competitive. He has heart. He has crazy heart. He's not gonna stop trying, and he's gonna continue to push forward and bulldoze forward. So he's gonna try to make it competitive, and I could see him, having some success here and there, but I don't think he would be scared to fight Shakur. I mean, but that's the thing. He fights Shakur, he's gonna lose. I'm pretty certain he's gonna lose. And then after that, what? He's gonna build himself back up in another sanctioning body to fight another of the champions, and then he's gonna lose again. So is he just gonna be like those fighters who are like the top contenders, but they can never really make it to that world championship elite level? So if he doesn't want to be like that, if he wants to actually get a world title, he does have to change something.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, William Zepeda needs to make adjustments within his camp, and needs, like we've been talking, to bring something else to the table that would set him apart or make him a very unique fighter. Because the constant pressure, the constant output, it is unique, but we've seen these past two fights that there's a blueprint to it. And if he doesn't make any adjustments or bring something else, then I don't see him beating any of the champions, much less ShakurStevenson. But yeah, that was our thoughts.
Well, actually, I wanted to ask you guys a question. Did you guys think it was a knockdown in the last round? It looked like he hit him behind the head or around the ear area, and then the referee right away said no, and then one of the panelists was like, "Oh, it's a knockdown. It should have been a knockdown."
I don't think it was. On the replay, firstly, Tevin Farmer kind of hit him on the back of the head. So that's the first thing. I don't even think it was a legal punch. And second of all, he continued with kind of cupping behind the head type. So, and it seemed more like a push as well. I mean, Zepeda, it wasn't like Zepeda kind of got rocked and fell. It was kind of like he got off balance and fell. I think it was like more of a Farmer having his hand behind his head and kind of guiding him back down, which is so I don't think it should have been a knockdown. I know the referee got a lot of slack for that call, but I think I think it was the right call.
Yeah, I completely agree. I didn't think it was a knockdown. I looked online; it was kind of even, in my opinion. I don't think it was a knockdown. I mean, they could have counted a knockdown for Zepeda too earlier in the fight. Tevin Farmer had a slip. I mean, they didn't show the replay for that one, but I mean, that could have been a knockdown too. If you're gonna judge the last round as a knockdown, then maybe you should have given that one too.
Yeah, me too. When I first saw it, I thought it was a knockdown because I was like, "What the heck?" Like all I saw was a punch, and then Zepeda fell. But then once I saw the replay, it kind of did look like he did kind of like hit him like behind the head or behind the ear area, but it looked like he hit him kind of like in the wrist, and he just kind of like pulled him down.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, I think it was a fair call right away. Yeah.
Good job by the ref. Yeah.
Thank you, ref. Anyways, there's no way they were going to give it a Tevin Farmer. That we're in Cancun,
dude.
Man.
If it would have been a knockdown, then I think it would have been a draw. I believe because
I don't believe so. You know why?
Would Farmer have won? No, I think it would have been a draw.
Well, the first judge gave it a draw, right?
So then he would have had it for Farmer.
Yeah.
And then the second judge gave it 115-113 for Zepeda. So that would have been a draw. And the last judge gave it 116-112.
Yeah.
So then that would have been 115-13. And so then it would have been a draw.
No. Look, trust, bro. You know what? they would have erased it if there was a draw. They would have erased the scorecard and then put a different one, and then they would have given it to Zepeda still.
I ain't gonna lie, that's probably true.
We're in Cancún, man. I mean, there was, like I mentioned last episode, there was no way Zepeda was gonna lose, regardless of what kind of performance he put up. So they're just gonna, maybe do something like whiteout.
Yeah.
And then rechange their scorings. But yeah, there's no way they're gonna give it to Farmer.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
But that was those were our thoughts and opinions about the William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer rematch in Cancun, in which we saw William Zepeda retain his interim belt and successfully defeat Tevin Farmer for the second time, and is looking for an opportunity at Win of the Champions at 135. Now going down the list to 154 junior middleweight. We have the return of Tim Tszyu as he takes on Joey Spencer in Australia this weekend. Now, last time we saw Tim Tszyu was probably 2024, a top 10 2024 status moments in boxing.
This is true.
Tim Tszyu got absolutely hammered against Murtazaliev in the States. I mean, we bring this man back to the U.S. after his blood gushing fight against Fundora, only to watch him get absolutely pummeled within 3 rounds?
3 rounds.
3 rounds against Murtazaliev, and then we watched Murtazaliev announce himself to the world stage and become the new IBF champion. So lots of questions regarding Tim Tszyu. I mean, he did not have the best 2024, 2 losses and 1 absolute ass beating. So questions are being asked about Tim Tszyu regarding his health, regarding his status as a fighter. Is he going to be good? How's that chin going to hold up? Does he have what it takes to regain momentum and to become a top contender or maybe even a champion at 154, considering how stacked right now the division is?
Listen, I think so. I think Tim Tszyu is going to start rebuilding right now, unless there's some psychological stuff that got really damaged. I could see that playing a factor, but I don't think so. I think he's going to be okay. He took some time off. He's doing it right. He's not jumping right back into a Virgil Ortiz or a Madrimov type of level fighter. Go Joey Spencer, which is a ranked guy, I believe. He's a ranked guy. He's a tough, solid dude, but he definitely isn't the cream of the crop. It's definitely a beatable fight. It's a good stepping stone for Tim Tszyu. And there is a lot of questions on his name, right? Two losses in 2024. That's not good, and especially that fight against Murtazaliev, it was very, very bad. But he's still they're talking down on him like he wasn't a world champion. They're talking down on him like he doesn't have any skills. Tim Tszyu is a very skilled fighter. He's a very, very good fighter. I still think he has it left in his tank. He's not super old. I think he can handle this loss very well, and I think he's gonna come back against Joey Spencer.
Yeah, for me, I feel like there's a lot of variables. When it comes to Tim Tszyu, yes, I mean, I was one of those people that maybe cried a little bit on the inside when he lost both fights, back in 2024. I'm still a Tim Tszyu fan, but I feel like there's a lot that he needs to prove. I'm not gonna lie. If he wants to go back to being one of the top elites at 154, because since his loss, since that long layover that he's had, I mean, the 154 division has changed a little bit, quite a bit since he's been a champion. There's a lot of other guys that that are champions now. There's a lot of big players now at 154, and so it's very interesting. Tim Tszyu says that he's a throwback fighter, and if he said that, so I'm expecting him to KO. I don't want no TKO. I don't want no unanimous decision victory against Spencer. I want him to knock this dude out because this guy is not on his level. Tim Tszyu, I still consider him an elite fighter, but he needs to just knock him out and then go continue on his journey for bigger and better things. For a world title maybe later this year. Yeah, because Joey Spencer is not on his level. The one question that I want answered is, how is his psychological state of mind? Because he lost against Fundora. One can say, okay, he lost because of the cut. Okay, I'll cut him some slack on that one. But Murtazaliev, that is a tremendous loss, you know, and a lot of fighters, you know, as I've seen, you know, the sport of boxing, sometimes fighters don't come back, you know, how they once were after a knockout like that, after a stoppage like that. So that is the one question that I have in mind, is just where is Tim Tszyu's mental state is.
Yeah, in that aspect of his psychological status as a fighter, I don't really plan, or I don't really have hopes of seeing like him going into deep waters. I think the disparity between him and Joey Spencer in regards to skills and just the levels that they're at, I think there's a huge disparity. I think Tim Tszyu should comfortably take him out within the first half of the fight. I'd be surprised if there's some moments of adversity for Tim Tszyu in that fight. So I'm not expecting him to really, you know, be in deep waters with Joey Spencer. It's what happens afterwards, okay? And once he starts getting back into like maybe fighting some of these top 10 contenders at 154, maybe Jesus Ramos might want to get a shot at Tim Tszyu, because knowing how maybe at the state that Tim Tszyu is at, and Tim Tszyu needs a big fight or a big name at least as a top 10 contender in order to elevate himself back to like at least an interim title holder. I mean, Jesus Ramos, you got Charles Conwell too. These guys are looking at Tim Tszyu and saying, okay, if I beat Tim Tszyu, a former unified champion, shit, that's gonna elevate me to perhaps a world title shot, or at least, you know, hitting the top one or two contenders and whatever sanctioning body. So Tim Tszyu right now is in my opinion, in a very fragile and vulnerable situation. Of course, he's trying to build himself back up. At the same time, these other contenders are looking at Tim Tszyu and saying, if I'm able to beat this man, a former unified champion, I can get myself a shot. And Tim Tszyu might not be the same Tim Tszyu. Hence why they'd be more inclined to take on Tim Tszyu now at this state that he's at, rather than when he was a former unified champion at 154. So I'm expecting Tim Tszyu to do well against Joey Spencer. Joey Spencer fought Jesus Ramos. Jesus Ramos absolutely put ass to belt in that fight. And I'm expecting Tim Tszyu to do the same thing. So I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, I think so as well. You know, he's rebuilding, and let's see what he's working on. You know, I wonder if he's gonna bring something new. Honestly, I doubt it. You know, I truly doubt it. I think he's gonna do the same thing he always does, go forward, and he's like a counter puncher, sharp counter puncher. He loves throwing that right hand, and it's a very, very, very dangerous one. So I definitely think, you know, the psychology, we just have to get over that little psychology hurdle, and then going to bigger and better things. Which is funny that you mentioned that, you know, the 154, like the top contenders are kind of eyeing him. You know, I think it would be smart for them to get a former world champion like Tim Tszyu in his current situation. And knowing Tim Tszyu, he would take those fights, bro. Yeah. Knowing Tim Tszyu, he'd be like, yeah, let's go. even if he doesn't even perform well, he just gets like a split decision, worst of the worst. And like a Charles Conwell calls him out, he's like, yeah, give me the contract, I'll sign it right now.
Yeah. That's the thing about Tim Tszyu. I mean, after he lost against Murtazaliev, I think a couple weeks or maybe a month later or so, he was on a podcast. They were kind of interviewing him, how he was and stuff like that. And they brought up the Murtazaliev fight, and he was all like, yeah, I don't know what happened. Yeah. Like, I had a great camp going into that fight, and it just didn't happen. Very humble about it, you know, didn't make any excuses, because like you mentioned, he's always been that type of fighter, a very throwback fighter, very strong mentality, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy how fighters can have, you know, perhaps the best camp of all time, and then come fight night get absolutely obliterated for one reason or another. It just doesn't work for them on fight night, and that's exactly what we saw from Tim Tszyu in his last outing against Murtazaliev. I mean, nothing worked for him. Murtazaliev simply bulldozed over him, and he made him look absolutely weak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, bro, once Murtazaliev caught him with that hook and dropped him for the first time, the fight was over. Yeah. I mean, Tim Tszyu was completely in like a different mode. Like he was not there anymore. He didn't really, he wanted to like bang it out with him. And, you know, I mean, you know, respect, you know, that shows some heart, but not really the smartest thing to do. Like Murtazaliev showed, you know, you don't bang out with a guy like that. You don't go punch for punch with him. So, but listen, he gets this win, gets a little bit more wins, and we going for that Murtazaliev rematch. And this time he's coming in with a better game plan, and he's gonna beat him. Watch.
Well, I mean, for me, like, it really all depends on how he looks Saturday. Like, I mean, two things. One, he's got to knock this dude out. Two, I want to see that killer instinct. Because if I don't see that killer instinct, then I mean, I'm just like how you said, some of these other elite fighters that are ranked top 5 within all the sanctioning bodies, they're gonna want to pounce on this dude. You know, we're just talking about Zepeda, who, you know, didn't give the best performance, but he still won. But don't get it twisted. If any of the top 5 contenders within the lightweights, they're gonna have a run for their money. They may not be Zepeda, but I mean, if Tim Tszyu gets a lousy decision victory against Spencer, best believe all these hungry lions are gonna pounce on Tim Tszyu.
Or even like, you know, Madrimov, he's coming off 2 losses. I mean, if Tim Tszyu doesn't look good against Joey Spencer, Madrimov is gonna be like, Tim Tszyu still a big enough name for me to at least have a reputable or credible name in my resume if I beat him. He's gonna pounce on him. Bohachuk gonna pounce on him. Stuff like that. So it's very interesting to see where Tim Tszyu is at right now. He of course needs to make a statement, return. You know what's funny though? The fact that Tim Tszyu got obliterated by Murtazaliev, and he's returning before Murtazaliev. Murtazaliev doesn't have a fight scheduled. Nothing has been announced. He's the new IBF champion. I mean, what's the IBF doing right now, man?
Man, no one wants to fight this dude, bro.
That's true.
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, I can think of 2 things. 1, dangerous fighter, a guy who is a power puncher in both hands. 2, not a lot of money fighting him. So it's, for a lot of these guys, it's kind of like a lose-lose type situation. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
And also, I mean, the IBF should be doing their job and like enforcing a fucking fight.
Yeah.
Like, it should be them being like, hey, you know, there should be the matchmakers. Yo, hey, you got to fight this guy next, or you got to do this next.
Enforcing mandatories.
Enforce mandatories.
Yes.
Enforce number 1 contender. Like do that.
But the thing that's so funny is in the 154 for the IBF, they have no one rated number 1 contender, no one rated for the number 2 contender. And then their number 3 contender is Hammer Time Erickson Lubin. But they have no number 1, number 2 rated. So I'm like, what are you guys doing?
How the hell does that even work?
What are you guys doing?
What?
You guys don't have 1 or 2 contenders rated in your own organization.
Dude.
At 154, the most stacked division in boxing right now. Like, what are you guys doing? You guys aren't helping Murtazaliev get some, you know, stay active, get some bodies in there, because I don't know what the hell they're doing. They're like scratching their asses over there.
Fucking IBF. I don't know. That just makes no sense how they don't have a 1 and 2. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and Lubin's there. I kind of forgot about Lubin at 154. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, he beat Mono Ramos.
Yeah, he did beat Mono Ramos. He also had a good ass fight with Fundora. Yeah. You know, he broke it. He got his face broken. Yeah. But hey, he dropped that Towering Inferno.
Yeah.
So, you know, Lubin is there to fight. You know, he's been at the 154 for a while. You know, it's been years since he got knocked out against Charlo in that first round, and he's still there. You know, so tough guy. I don't know if I would say, you know, he deserves a title fight, but I mean, if that's the best we got,
give it to him.
Give Murtazaliev that fight.
And even then, like, he has a fight scheduled in May. Like, he's gonna fight someone else. So I mean, who's number 4 then?
Yeah,
Josh Kelly.
He's a guy from the UK, I believe.
He lost. I mean, he had like mega hype. I don't know if you remember. He had mega hype. Josh Kelly had mega hype, saying he was like the next guy. And then he fought this very tough Eastern European. I don't remember his name. Avanesian. And David Avanesian beat his ass. Yeah. So Josh Kelly, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, give someone where it's like, I want to see him fight. I want to see him back in the ring.
Yeah, give him a top 10 contender at this point. I mean, it's kind of bogus what they're doing to Murtazaliev. I mean, the other champions, I mean, they're not really obligated to take on Murtazaliev at this point. I mean, Sebastian Fundora just fought, so he's doing his thing. Crawford is fighting Canelo. So Murtazaliev, I mean, give him a number 10 contender from your own sanction, your own body, man. I mean, there's good names. Xander Zayas is there, Lubin. You got El Mono Ramos, Bohachuk, Tim Tszyu's number 10. I mean, you got names there, bro.
Or maybe Murtazaliev is playing it smart. He's waiting it out until Crawford goes up, and then he's gonna go to get that vacant title.
Oh yeah, he could fight unified like that.
Yeah, and then go up against Sebastian.
Yeah.
Now you know what? Murtazaliev taking on FaZe Jarvis.
All right, bro.
154.
Let's wrap it up.
Wow, bro.
Dude, FaZe Jarvis sparred Floyd
God.
Mayweather, so
Dude,
he
yeah.
obviously has the skills now.
He learned so much. He like downloaded the data from the Floyd sparring.
Of course, because that's how it works. It's just like experience. If you fight like if you spar an experienced guy, your experience just like exponentially grows. So.
Exactly. And Murtazaliev, he never sparred Floyd.
Of course, no, never, never once has he ever sparred Floyd Mayweather. So, I mean, enough said, really.
Yeah, exactly. I think Jarvis stops Murtazaliev within like the first half of the fight. It's gonna be a tough, competitive early on, but then I think the body work from Jarvis. He's gonna break him down like he broke down. What's that one dude?
Was it that TikTok kid? He's gonna win because he got aimbot installed.
Yes, I see Jarvis breaking him down. It's easy food, but I mean, let's see what the IBF decides to enforce. If they're not going to give him Jarvis, at least give him the top 10 within the sanctioning body. But so our predictions. I mean, I'm giving it Tim Tszyu beating Joey Spencer.
Me too, Tim Tszyu. I don't know if it's gonna be a knockout. But I know he should whip his ass, and I'm expecting an ass whipping. So,
Well, look, I'm still riding on the Tim Tszyu bandwagon. I'm still a huge mega fan, and so I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna put $20 that he KOs Joey Spencer, and if he doesn't, then that's a discussion for a different day.
Alrighty, so those were our official thoughts and predictions for Tim Tszyu's return against Joey Spencer in Australia. Let us know down below. Do you believe that Tim Tszyu has what it takes to become a champion once again at 154? What are you guys expecting from Tim Tszyu in his return this Saturday? Also, let us know about William Zepeda. What did you guys think about his performance? And do you guys think that he has what it takes to take on any of the 3 champs or any of the 4 champs at 135? Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all forms of social media. We're on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Lastly, we have a Discord. We're trying to build up a community, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. But this was Pablo, and I'm with Rudo Nasa, and this was the Last Round Podcast. Thank you for watching.